Mindset Mashup podcast, here we are. And look, you already know what it is. If you're part of the family already, welcome back. Thanks for coming. If you're new to this platform, subscribe to the YouTube. If you're listening to any form of audio version of this, either leave a review, subscribe. Just do something helpful, man. Do you know what I mean? We're out here, just reached top 200 in the UK for entrepreneurship. We want to come for that top 100, so we can't do that without you. Listen, this guest is a big one again today. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself, but I just want to welcome here Mike C-roc. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, brother. How you doing, George?
Yeah, all good. We're 27 degrees in UK right now, so we don't really know how to deal with it because that weather doesn't come around too often. But other than that,
absolutely. What's that in Fahrenheit?
No idea. to be honest, it's probably like an average day, like most other places where people listen to around the world. But in UK, it's a heat wave.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, C-roc, for those that might not know who you are, can you give us a little backstory, a little bit of context?
Yeah, man. I do a lot of things, but I do everything through a mission that all people are unstoppable to living the life of their dreams. And a lot of people hear that and they're like, yeah, right. Well, that's why they don't see themselves as unstoppable, because they believe that they're not. They say, yeah, right. So all people are actually in control of their destiny, and whether they're intentional about it or not is up to them. But the key is that that's my mission, and I filter everything I do through that. So I think I'm approaching 8 businesses now, from the real estate mortgage space through tech, through coaching. I have a media agency now. I'm becoming a media mogul. And I'm also been working on getting into acting and having a television show. So a lot of things going on in my life, man. But at the end of the day, I just want to help create unstoppable people.
What made you decide to do that?
So, I mean, I think growing up around my life, I've always grown up around a lot of broken people. And when I saw these broken people, and I'm talking about family members, right? Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, parents. And when I saw them doing the things that they were doing, whether it's alcohol, drugs, abuse, suicide, any of that stuff, I always noticed that they were telling themselves a story of why they had to do it. So, I paid attention to that. And I always used to call them out on their BS. I would tell them, that's just the story you're telling yourself. And then some of those would get, pissed at me, and then they would have some resentment build up. But at the end of the day, I didn't care because I cared about them. And also, look, it is what it is. Like you tell yourself you're a drug addict, you tell yourself you need drugs, you tell yourself you're depressed, you're going to be depressed. If you have some entrepreneurs listening, if you tell yourself it's hard to find good people in your business, it's going to be hard to find good people in your business. If you tell yourself entrepreneurship's difficult, it's going to be difficult for you. So at the end of the day, I realized that at a young age. And I realized that, you know what, if I just tell myself a story that why I'm going to be successful and how it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And because of that, George, over my life, when I wanted something, I've generally gotten it. And it's not because it was handed to me. It's because I believed that was going to happen. And I did whatever it took to get it. And so when I saw that starting to work, I realized that in life, if you want something, this is, by the way, I wrote a book called Rocket Fuel back here. Grant Cardone wrote the foreword for it. Rocket Fuel converts setbacks, become unstoppable. If you want something in life, think about this for a second. And you come into a hurdle, a roadblock. You come into something that's going to slow you down or stop you. And you take that stuff, instead of like trying to handle it, you put it in your tank instead of your trunk. Most people keep all this stuff in their trunk, and it slows them down and weighs them down. You ever see a car with a bunch of weight in the trunk and you're worried about the tires popping because the rim's rubbing on the tire? That's what most people do in their lives, man. And I saw that. And I realized that if you take all that stuff and you store it in your tank instead, your fuel tank, and convert it into rocket fuel, you become unstoppable. And once I had that formula, I was like, oh, it's on now. Let me see how far I can take this thing. And then I started sharing with people, and people started to understand it and implement it into their lives. And then what I noticed was everybody that started to hang around me started to elevate.
It's no coincidence, is it? And I often say, C-roc, that it's never whether you can or you can't do something. The question is, are you willing to do what it takes to get what you to do what you say you want?
Well, not only that, are you willing to mock it up? Like, think about this for a second. Somebody wants something. They set a goal. They're writing their goals down all the time, and then they stop there.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that have to happen. You have to mock up the scenario of how this is going to happen. A lot of people call it business plans. I think that's kind of boring and stuffy. So I like to talk about mocking it up. Let's mock it up, man. Let's draw it up, right? Like if you're playing backyard football in America, the football where you run plays, not soccer.
Yeah.
But like when you're running a background football game, people draw up plays and say, hey, you run this route here, you go this way, and I'm going to throw it to you, right? If they don't do that and they just go up and snap the ball, same thing with soccer. If they don't have plays that they're running, it's kind of like a chaotic cluster, and nobody can be successful when there's chaos. So number one is you have to have some kind of mock-up or plan, right? And then the second thing is every time you think like you're running into something, you have to remember your mission or the target that you're going after, and make sure your thoughts, the words, your actions, and the environment that you keep, especially the people you have around you, go towards that mission and not away from it.
Yeah. And do you think, from obviously, Mike, you coached, you've created businesses. Do you think often the pattern is when people don't get what they want, is that those things don't align?
Well, no, I think a lot of times when people don't get what they want, they quit before they get it. So it could be misalignment. But see, misalignment happens like when you go for a goal or target in business and life or whatever, you don't know exactly how long it's going to take all the time. But as you're going, part of the mission, you have your mock-up, your plan. That plan is not set in stone, by the way. That's just to give you direction on which way to go and what to start doing, right? Well, when you're going through those things, you're going to have to make adjustments. You're going to have to get things in alignment. Some things might start in alignment and then get out of alignment. So the whole time you're going through this is a common, like, it's kind of like you're working this plan as you're going and gathering data as you're going to make these corrections. But the problem is most people quit.
Yeah. Before they get what they want, they quit too early.
Yeah, 100%.
And you've been an entrepreneur now for a long time. As you said, you've dived into lots of different areas. As you said, you've got a book behind you. You diving into, you're in media, real estate. What do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned in business?
I think the biggest thing is to shoot for really, really big, and then mock it up. And then the alignment thing where you're making sure everything's going towards the goal, and then never quit. Never, ever quit. Like, look, there's been times, by the way, that I thought I wanted something and I went through it and I was going through the plan, and then things changed in my life and I just didn't want that thing anymore. And then I might've switched, but I'm not quitting on going towards my main mission, which is all people are unstoppable to live in the life of their dreams. So I think the main thing, if you want to ask me that question, the one thing would be get a mission that you can filter things through.
How would someone do that?
So, for me, I just examined my life, man, and looked back and saw all the stuff that I went through, what I liked and what I didn't like about life. And then I got really clear on the kind of life I want to live. And I just want to be unstoppable to doing what I want to do, whether that's good or not. Like if I want to do something, I want to do it. And I'm not going to throw a temper tantrum if I don't get my way, but I'm going to make sure I do what I got to do to go in the direction I want to go. And I think a lot of people bow down to other people's wishes and goals, and then they become miserable and they're not living their life that they want to live. They're living somebody else's life. So it's a choice, guys. And I know everybody maybe cannot live this way. Maybe. But I think more people need to decide what they want and go after it, move hell or high water, and let people figure out whether they want to be a part of it or not. And then get people out of the way or insert people into different parts of it to make it happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's something that over the last probably 3 to 4 years that I've really worked on getting clear about what I want to do. And the clearer that you get, I think you can position yourself better to whether you really want it or not when pursuing it. Because I think there's nothing wrong with not wanting something, thinking you want something and going after it, then realizing that you don't want it, right?
No, you can change your mind anytime you want.
Yeah.
Like that, the people get so hung up on this too. It's like, I can't change my mind. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, who's telling you can't change your mind?
And also, the more doors you knock, like you're better to try something, change your mind, rather than not try something and spend the rest of your life going, I wonder what would have happened if I actually done that.
Well, and a lot of people see all the stuff I'm doing and they're like, well, he can't possibly be great at any one thing because he's done all these other things. And then that's just a self-reflection upon that person saying that. Because at the end of the day, I'm damn good at a lot of things. And I don't really care what other people say. I think that people will judge you based on what their own experiences and what their thoughts of themselves are. And so, like, I take a lot of swings, man. Not everything always works out, but I take a lot of swings because I'm looking for that thing that's going to pop. And in the meantime, I'll make some moves and impact and make some money in all of the things.
I spoke to Greg Reed. I think you're connected with Greg.
Yeah, Greg's a friend of mine. Yeah,
He spoke about clues, patterns, and
choices.
choices. Thank you. And I'm very intrigued with that. And I also believe that it's very, very true. I believe there's not a scenario that I thought about where that hasn't come in. But one thing I've noticed about all the successful different entrepreneurs, the business people, people like yourself, is their problem with their relationship with problems. And I'm wondering, when I say that to you, what do you think your relationship is like with problems?
Well, I think problems are projects. Like I turn them into projects.
Yeah.
So I just look at things a little differently, you know. And then what I do not generally is when I have a problem that comes up, okay, this is a project. We need to solve the project. And at first, I'm going to solve the project, but then from there, I'm going to go to the source and find out what caused the problem. And I'm going to knock out the source. Some people don't knock out the source. They deal with these problems all the time, and then they might solve the problem, they may not, but then that same source is still sitting there called that causes it, and it keeps feeding them more problems. And then they're like, it's like a never ending battle. And I'm like to myself, like, no, I'll put a fire out if there's a fire, but then from there, I'm going to knock the source out. And then from there, what I also carry myself, George, and this is something that everybody can just do right now. You don't need to build up to this. You don't need to work on it. You just need to start saying, when I walk in a room, the source of problems gets scared and it doesn't produce problems. You know, like if I
Yeah.
can walk, if I can take the stage when I go on stage, if I can walk into a room and when I walk into the room, everybody straightens up because I'm there. That's the kind of life I want to live, man. I want people to, when I come in the room, like they're like, oh, this guy has high standards. He has high expectations and it's time to straighten up. And generally when you carry yourself that way, people start to, you know, respond properly.
I think we set quite low standards for ourselves, don't we? As general, I think as humans, we do a good job of setting quite low standards for ourselves.
Yeah. And think about this. Like there's a lot of people that want to be leaders. I think everybody's a leader in one form or fashion, but when you want to be a leader, you have to be able to lead yourself first. I have one of my
Yeah.
core values says leadership starts with me. So when you don't have high standards and when you have low tolerance, you're for yourself, you're going to do that same thing for other people. You're not going to be able to hold other people accountable in your life. And so, yeah, it's very important to assess what your standards are, you know, and what your tolerance level is.
Speaking about leadership, I'm really big on leadership. I think it's probably the most important skill that most humans can acquire because I believe as you said, it starts with you, right? You need to be able to lead yourself. I think a bad leader stands out like a sore thumb because you can just see if they can't lead themselves, they can't lead a pack. But when I say leadership to you, what's a leader to you?
You know, first of all, somebody that can hold themselves to a high standard and hold themselves accountable. That's where it starts to me.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like a lot of people go through imposter syndrome or they have low confidence, and it's because they're not starting with themselves. They'll go out and try to lead someone else or try to guide someone else, and that person won't respond to them. And then they get frustrated. They feel like a fake or phony. And it's because they're not doing it themselves first. You lead first by example. When I wake up in the morning, George, I think to myself that I'm a role model and everybody's watching me, even if they're not. I make my reality that people are watching me, and I need to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do, even when nobody's looking, even when it gets hard.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about that even when no one's looking sentence, because I think success, we often see people and we're like, oh, they're like the people that we see to be great, you know, like whoever's listening, like the most successful you can think of, we often think it's that one achievement that makes someone successful, but it's actually the things that get done in the unseen which gets them to that point.
Yep.
And what what would you say to someone that seeks more external gratification and validation from other people?
What would I say to them? You know, I think I don't know, man. Like I really think we all have a thing inside of us that concerns ourselves with judgment of other people. But when you really true freedom, think about this for a second. True freedom is when you can really not give a flying whatever about what people think.
Yeah.
And you go do you. Now there's different, everybody has different ethics, right? Like if I know that I want to help create unstoppable people, make an impact on this planet, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. I'm going to be freed, man. I'm going to be free to be more creative. I'm going to be free to post more things on social media. I'm going to be free to go on television or podcasts. I'm going to be free to speak in front of people because I don't care what people think. I know what my mission is. And I'm only concerned with the people that are going to grasp my mission. The other people, I'm not worried about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's important. I think people value other people's opinion of them, even if that's not the sort of person that they're trying to, not, I don't want to use the word copy, but like be like, or have like similarities with, because I think that's a big problem in our society at the moment. I think that comparing to others and the way that we view ourselves based on other people's opinion of us, and I think for entrepreneurs, I think that's a big one as well.
Well, here's the other thing. Like I know a lot of influencers. I know a lot of super successful people, and it's not always what it seems. There, you go behind the scenes and you see the real deal behind the curtain. A lot of times you'd be really disappointed in some of the people you look up to. I can tell you that I don't really care about what people think, but I do care about this. I care about as coming on a show like this, when I do television, when I'm out speaking, when we're on social, whatever, I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have the issue where later on somebody sees me and then they see something different. That's not going to happen. I'm me anywhere I go. And it is what it is. Like when I'm by myself, here's the best thing. When I'm by myself, I talk to myself. I don't know if anybody else does that because
Yeah,
I want somebody around me with the same mindset. Right. And I talk to myself. And then what I'm doing when I'm on a show like this, when I'm doing anything else I do, it's the same voice. It's the same guy. It's talking the same game. So look, I know that when I go somewhere and somebody sees me off of social media and they see me in person, they're going to get what they saw there.
Yeah, it's not going to be a surprise. Let's talk business. So
let's go.
You're a man of many different businesses. I know one of the more recent projects for you is a company called Blueprint.
Blueprinted, yeah.
Blueprinted. Sorry, could you tell us about that?
Yeah, Blueprinted is a marketplace online new tech platform where people can go, and if let's say they want to start a podcast, well, they can go on there and there's blueprints on how to start a podcast. And they can buy the blueprint. It's not a course where you sit there and consume information, learn something, and just sit there and then try to figure out what you got to do after that. This platform actually gives you the granular step-by-step guide to achieve it. So starting a podcast, you would buy it and then you would go through the steps. And as you go through the steps, you're having short-term wins, building up confidence as you get to the main thing. And at the end of that, you'll have a podcast. Or if you wanted to develop a personal brand, you can develop a personal brand on there as well, because there's a blueprint for that. If you wanted to craft your perfect pitch, your sales pitch, there's a blueprint for that. If you wanted to, what's other ones on there? I mean, there's so many different things. Like you want to be a better parent, you want to be a better spouse, you want to go, maybe, I don't know, lose weight. Like there's going to be blueprints all over the place for that on the marketplace. So if you're an expert, a creator, you know how to do something that you want to teach someone else how to do by giving them action, giving them tasks to do. That's what Blueprinted is. And you can check it out at Blueprinted, BLOO, printed.com.
And so this is a variation of different people, different creators all over the world that are putting on there. I know recently partnered with Grant Cardone on that one as well. I know a lot of people are familiar with him. How did you get him onto there?
Long story short, I read the 10X rule back in 2018 and I love the concept and I just wanted to learn more about it. So I started hanging out with him and his company and getting involved with all the things that they do, becoming friends with the president of Cardone, Jared Glant, and supporting them with anything I could do and bringing them deals when I had deals. And then we just became friends through that. And then I got him to write the foreword on my book. And so when I was in tech and I had this opportunity, I went to them right away and said, hey guys, you got to see what we're doing over here. And they set up a call and it just so happens they were looking to get into tech and the partnership was formed.
Nice. And what What sort of things did you learn in those early days of the 10x?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things is that I was living in a life where there was a good life. I had a good business and money was coming in, but I had one business and I was in a local market and I wasn't going beyond that and getting like trying to scale and grow big and looking for abundance. And I also got beat up a lot, not physically, like beat up a lot by like bad things happening, allowing the wrong people in my environment. And I started to introvert or get locked up in a cage. And I felt like I had this potential and this beast, good way, beast, like a powerful being
Yeah.
inside of me, but I was caged up. And I started feeling like just something wasn't right. Something wasn't aligned. So when I read the 10X rule, it really made me realize that, I need to be breaking out of this and I need to go extrovert and I need to just move hell or high water, get it done. And anybody that is in my life that's not aligned with my mission, they need to self-select out of my life and get out of the way because they're stealing from me. They're stealing my dreams. So that's the kind of stuff I picked up. And then from there, it's just also like omnipresence, thinking about, okay, I can get known in my local market for my business, which is great. But if I only shoot for that local market, I'm going to come up way short. I might as well shoot higher and shoot for nationwide. Like, what if I got known nationwide? Do you think the local market would take care of itself? Of course it was. Then I started thinking, well, if I can get known nationwide, I might as well go global and talk to people like yourself and talk to people like, when I wrote my book, several people took pictures of it and put it on social media from all over the country, Australia, right? Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, all of Europe, Africa. Like, think about that.
Yeah,
I made a
crazy.
decision and then I created something and I went after it. And then now, if you think about it, if you're known globally, then the local market takes care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for
those
sure.
are the concepts I picked up.
And you gained a lot. You got a big following on Instagram, and I know that's growing all the time. And you spoke about sort of like that global approach, which becomes a lot easier these days. How would you say entrepreneurs should be utilizing the likes of social media now?
Well, I think the first step is to just start producing consistent content. Constantly have content going out. I always wake up every morning and I pretend nobody's ever seen my podcast. Nobody watches it. Nobody knows me on Instagram. I'm on Clubhouse a lot. Nobody knows me there. And every morning I wake up and saying, how can I get known? How can I get known better? How can I get more people to find out about me and what I'm doing? That thought constantly runs through my head. And so I think the first step is to produce more content, at least a piece daily, at least. Some days I'm putting out 3-4 pieces of content, by the way. So that, and then also thinking about like, how can I get known? How can I get known? Constantly asking that question.
Do you feel that an entrepreneur going into social media should be advertising on there, or do you feel like they should take another approach?
You're talking about paid marketing?
Not just like advertising their products or services, like
Oh,
telling people what to
absolutely.
buy.
Yeah. I mean, how are people supposed to know what you do? Like, you think about this. I was asking myself and my team a question the other day because I was pondering it myself, like, how many people on this earth actually know who I am? Because like I'm sitting here watching Tiger Woods in between calls here on the British Open, right? And I know Tiger Woods, but Tiger Woods doesn't know me. Now, I met him before. I met him before, but he doesn't know. Like, you asked him who C-Roc was, he probably wouldn't remember. That doesn't do me any good with Tiger Woods, me knowing him. It does Tiger good, right? So, but how many people actually know who I am and what I do? Most people listening on this call right now, your family doesn't even know what you do. Think about that. You go to a party and they're like, hey, how things going? What are you into now? Right? They don't even know what you do. And whose fault is that? Like, whose responsibility is it? So for me, start with your family and make sure your family knows what you do. Make sure they're reminded of what you do. Make sure your friends know what you do and make sure they're reminded of what you do. They never forget. Absolutely, the people should be marketing on Instagram and Facebook and all these. You should definitely make sure people know what you do. There should be no question. If you can get that handled, you should have very little problems in business as far as bringing business in the door. If you're doing good business.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. And the reason why I asked that question is because I'm always torn on social media between do I sort of promote the exact service that I'm offering, or do I take a more like I suppose like people's brand approach, like building relationships with people in order to maybe make that sale?
All of it.
Do both.
All of it. You're looking for an either or.
Yeah.
You should be
And
this is my partner, Jared Yellen in the tech. He says it's the greatest. We work off of and A-N-D, not or.
Yeah.
So, and that, and that, and that. And then you just compound it, like, yeah, you do a story. Yeah, you talk about people's problems and talking to their pain. But yeah, you direct tell people what you do. You do it all.
Yeah.
You don't want to make
good.
sure you want to leave every stone unturned. I mean, you want to make sure no stone's unturned and make sure that there's no question that people know what you do.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good. That's a little breakthrough for me. That's actually good. You're right. I have been doing it or rather than and C-roc with the blueprinted and what else have you got going on right now?
Well, that's the main thing we're working on right now. I also have a media agency where we book people on great podcasts. We also have real legit press where we get people press in great magazines like Rolling Stones, Entrepreneur Magazine, Forbes. But we also now have access to great TV shows like the BBC and on the BBC and Fox News and Fox Business and Bloomberg, you name it. So I'm looking to help people get omnipresence, get known, and become unstoppable to achieving their life that they want. And that is like every business I do, George, all aligns with that mission, if you notice.
Yeah, it's all that becoming unstoppable, and aligning all your business aligned with that as well as
Yeah. Yep.
helping people achieve that. No, I can.
Yeah. And by the
see
way, so any of the stuff that I'm talking about, by the way, you can go check out Blueprinted, BLOO printed.com if you want to. But any of the stuff I'm talking about, if you go to my Instagram and DM me at Mikey, MIKEY, CROC, Mikey C-roc, anything you have questions on, just DM me. I'll answer the DM and I'll direct you in the right place.
Well, I can put your handle and I can put the blueprinted in the description as well for those.
Okay.
Those do that. So, Mike, just before we go, there's two things I want to ask. So I want to speak to the entrepreneur out there right now, which is debating, that knows they want to do a business, but can't quite get started on something. They don't know what they want to do, or they've got a business and they're not sure where to go. What would your advice be to someone like that?
First thing you got to do is get clear on what you want. So you get really clear, right? And then you commit to that clear vision, whatever that is, commit to it, and then mock it up. There's a great app out there. I don't want to promote other companies on here, but I will. Miro.com, Miro.com. If you go on there, you can actually mind map your business. You can actually, what I call mocking it up, mock up your business. What does it look like?
Yeah.
Get really clear on what you want to have. And when you do that, then you can start seeing and building confidence. Because what happens, George, is clarity builds belief.
Yeah.
And clarity builds faith. So when you get clearer, you're like, whoa, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
So I always mock my businesses up on the Miro.com, and I'll draw pictures and I'll draw images, everything. I draw how I want it. And then I just go towards that vision consistently.
I suppose the last thing that we already mentioned where people can find you. So I suppose we can wrap up with any last words that you wanna mention, C-roc.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, we all need to understand that we're unstoppable to live in the life of our dreams. But in order to do that, we need to be really clear on what the life of our dreams looks like. Once you get that, then just mock up a plan. I just said this before, but you mock up a plan and you go towards that direction and get yourself a mission of what you like in life and what you don't like in life, and make sure your mission is clear so that you're going always in that direction. And so the other thing with this is like you're creating like a binary situation where you either have a towards or away. I'm going towards the life of my dreams or away from it. This person I'm hanging out with is either taking me towards my life of my dreams or pulling me away from it. My thoughts that I'm having are either, I got to fix them because they're not taking me towards that. It gives you a very clear binary yes or no decision. And so that's what I will leave everybody with, and just be unstoppable.
And I know you said that again, but I think that often that people don't do that. Because people like to make it a little bit like fuzzy and blurry because then they defend themselves from failure, don't they? So I think that's
100%. But like if you're gonna make yourself a lot of chaos around you, you're not going to be successful. And a lot of people do that because they don't want to be successful. They don't truly want to be successful. So they'll make excuses, like you said, by not getting clear on what they want, not setting goals, not going towards the target. And that's what happens a lot of times.
Mike, thanks for coming. For those that are still here, as I said, go do something helpful on the platform. Go follow C-roc. Everything that he spoke about is going to be here. And we'll catch you real soon. God bless. Take care.